Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you found the right place, if you're looking for true camping horror stories to help you fall asleep, tonight's tale takes us deep into the Appalachian Mountains, specifically to an area known as the Spine. This is a massive range of mountains that stretches for over 600 miles. It's here in these woods that our story begins. It all started when a young man named Danny decided to take a solo hike on a little-known backcountry trail. This trail wasn't listed on any official park maps. In fact, the only way he knew about it was from an old ranger who'd mentioned it in passing. According to the ranger, the trail led to a secluded area perfect for those looking to escape the crowds. But Danny soon found himself questioning the ranger's motives for sending him there. After hours of hiking, he came across a barely discernible path that snaked through the dense undergrowth. As he followed it deeper into the woods, he began to feel uneasy. There was something about the oppressive quiet of the forest that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. Yet he pressed on, driven by a mix of curiosity and a desire to test his limits. As the day wore on, the trees grew thicker and the sunlight began to fade. Danny realized he was in trouble. He needed to find a place to camp for the night, but the dense foliage provided little in the way of clearings. Just when he was about to give in to the growing sense of panic, he spotted a small opening. It wasn't much, but it would have to do. In the center of the clearing was an old fire ring, its edges worn and weathered by countless fires past. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows through the trees, Danny got to work. He gathered fallen branches and leaves, building a small fire to keep him company in the growing darkness. With the fire crackling merrily, he felt a momentary sense of security. But as the night deepened, that feeling began to evaporate. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, even though he was certain he was alone. The forest around him seemed to hold its breath, the silence broken only by the crackling of the fire and the distant hoot of an owl. Then he heard it. A child's laughter echoed through the trees, and it sounded unnaturally loud in the stillness of the night. Startled, Danny turned toward the sound, but saw nothing in the darkness. Was he going crazy? He asked himself, realizing that if anyone found him out here, they'd probably think the same thing. The eerie laughter continued, growing louder, then fading away into the darkness. Gosh. Shaking off his unease, Danny tried to focus on the mundane task of making dinner. But even that was marred by the unsettling feeling that he was not alone. As he cooked, he kept glancing over his shoulder, half expecting to see a shadowy figure emerge from the trees. When dinner was finally ready, he ate quickly, his appetite soon forgotten. With his meal finished, he crawled into his tent, pulling the zipper tight, but sleep eluded him. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sounded like footsteps. Every hoot of an owl sent shivers down his spine. And the child's laughter echoed in his ears, seeming to mock his fear. As dawn began to break, he emerged from his tent to the creepiest scene. All around the tent, marks had appeared overnight. They were strange, almost otherworldly symbols that looked like nothing he'd seen before. Fear and confusion washed over him as he realized he might not be alone. He quickly packed up his gear, eager to put as much distance between himself and the clearing as possible. But as he turned to go, he noticed something that made him freeze in his tracks. His backpack was unzipped, and his food was missing.
Not only that,
but his tent had been slashed, the nylon ripped to shreds. Adrenaline surged through him as he frantically searched for the source of the disturbance. That was when he saw it, a small wooden figure lying beside the fire, its features crudely carved, its eyes hollow. It looked exactly like him. Panic tightened its grip on his chest, making it hard to breathe. He stumbled back, knocking over a rock. The sound echoed through the silent forest, jarring him out of his stupor.
eyes.
He knew he had to get out of there, but as he turned to leave, he noticed that the trail markers had vanished. The forest, once a familiar maze of trees and paths, had become a confusing labyrinth. No matter which direction he turned, he ended up back at the same spot, as if the forest itself was keeping him there. Desperation clawed at him, but he forced himself to stay calm. Panicking wouldn't help. He needed to think logically. But as the minutes ticked by, his calm facade began to crack. The forest seemed to be closing in on him, the trees looming like menacing figures in the twilight. Then, as if in answer to his silent plea, a break in the clouds allowed a sliver of sunlight to pierce through the canopy. Hope surged through him. He recognized the path that led out of the woods. But as he stumbled toward it, he realized that the light was fading fast. Night was falling once again, and with it, the forest came alive with a chorus of unsettling sounds. The wind rustled through the leaves, sounding like whispers. The branches creaked ominously, and the hoot of an owl sent chills down his spine. And then he heard it again, the child's laughter, closer now, as if they were mocking his struggle to escape. Pushing aside his fear, he broke into a run, stumbling over roots and rocks in his haste to reach the edge of the woods. But the laughter seemed to echo all around him, taunting him, and he couldn't shake it. As darkness enveloped him, he could feel their presence all around him, their unseen eyes boring into him, their whispers brushing against his ears. Finally, he burst out of the tree line, collapsing onto the forest floor in a state of utter exhaustion and relief. He lay there for a moment, his body trembling, his heart pounding against his ribs. When he finally got up, he noticed a faint light deep in the forest. At first, he thought it was a trick of the fading light, but as he watched, the lights began to move. They were like lanterns swinging in the grasp of unseen hands. With a mix of terror and fascination, he found himself drawn back into the forest, compelled by an unseen force to follow the swaying lights. Deeper and deeper he went, the trees closing in around him like a dense green wall. The air grew colder, the temperature dropping several degrees in what seemed like mere seconds. And then the laughter reached a fever pitch, echoing all around him, seeming to come from every direction at once. Paralyzed by fear, Danny could only watch as the lights danced around him, their eerie glow illuminating the grotesque faces of the trees. Their silent laughter seemed to reverberate in his very bones, and he could feel their presence all around him, cold and malevolent. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. His voice was trapped in his throat, stolen by the unseen entities that surrounded him. And as the forest grew darker, he felt their icy fingers close around him, pulling him deeper into their sinister game. Then just as suddenly as it began, it stopped. The laughter ceased, the lights faded, and an oppressive silence descended upon the forest. Danny slumped to the ground, his body trembling, his mind reeling. He didn't know how long he stayed there, but when he finally came to, he found himself alone. The forest was silent, the only sound the rustling of leaves and the gentle breeze. He was safe, but the experience left him shaken to his core. He knew he had to get out of there, to put as much distance between himself and the whispering woods as possible. As he stumbled out of the forest, he took a deep breath of the fresh air, feeling the warmth of the sun on his skin. He was free, but the memory of the laughing forest would forever be etched in his mind. Determined to warn others about the dangers of the whispering woods, he recorded a voice memo on his phone. "If you find this," he said, his voice shaking, "stay off the trail." But his warning went unheard. The next day, his phone was found by another hiker, but there was no sign of Danny. Some say he got lost in the loop and is still stuck there, wandering endlessly through the woods. Others believe that the trail leads to a different place, one that you're not meant to return from. Now, if you walked that trail too, deep in your mind, you're still walking. You'll never get out. You're trapped in the loop forever. And now, thanks for watching. Keep the fire burning so you can fend off the things that go bump in the night. And if you want more true camping horror stories to help you fall asleep, subscribe.